Okay, welcome to today's webinar on networking with purpose. So my name is Ezra Ben Israel. I am the founder and owner of Edifying Answers, which is a training consultancy which unlocks insight through our transformational workshops and webinars. So we deliver a whole range of different bespoke training and webinars, which you can see on the list there. And we also have a whole range of mind mapping tools that are available on my website. Some are for free and some are for a small fee, but there's loads of information on there as you feel fit to see. So just about Edifying Answers, we are very much about unlocking insight. And today the focus is going to be on networking with purpose. So you can make those key connections with the right people in the right time. So just a bit about how the session is going to run today. So we will have a chat box facility. And in there will be a place where you can post positive statements, things that connect with you and that resonate with you. And it's also a chance where you can ask questions if there's anything that you want more information on, then we can look at it at the end. And so for those who haven't used Zoom before, so there's the three buttons at the bottom. If you click on that, it opens up the reactions where you can do thumbs up or claps, and also where you can chat as well, so you can type in. Okay, so by the end of today's session, you would explore what networking means to you, be able to reflect over the common mistakes that people make when networking, gain a clearer understanding of how to prepare for a networking event, look at the influential and effective tools to use when networking, discover the importance of body language and how it impacts on overall communication, learn how to build your own networking tree, comprehend the raw truths about networking that you need to consider for success, have more awareness about the art of communication that facilitates effective networking, explore the power of emotional intelligence and how it shapes your thinking, and then at the end, hopefully get an opportunity to practice some of your networking skills with your peers. Okay, so I think, for many people who want to network, it's kind of like a double-edged sword in terms of they know they need to socialize, but sometimes there's a part of them that also hates it, hates that process, finds it difficult, finds it awkward. And so it's really important that we do learn the skills and the tools to help us in that process to make it as smooth as possible. So as we kind of go through this webinar, it's really important to set an intention for yourself. So, what is it that you hope to gain out of today? And what do you seek to achieve or obtain from the workshop? And so by doing that and having that in mind as we go through the slides, it will help you to things to resonate more with you and for you to be able to make clear actions in terms of what you need to do going forwards. So in terms of intention and commitment, I think it's really important that there's a difficult conversation that we must always have with ourselves in terms of being clear on where we stand and what we want. And so these questions must be answered. And so, are you interested in learning about networking? Are you committed to developing your networking skills? Or are you fully committed to mastering the art of networking? And it's really important that we have a clear understanding of which one you're at this present moment, because how you see things in your mind is very important and influential. And not just in the area of networking, but in anything you want to do. Because if you're just interested, then there's some useful information that you may use one day. If you're committed to developing those skills, then you will start to apply and use these tools in all conversations you're having. And if you're fully committed, then you will make the most of this. You'll make notes, you'll make sure you apply this stuff. And when you have those key moments when you can network, you will see that you will shine through with what you've practiced. So for many people, sometimes networking can leave you scratching your head a bit like how Columbo does in some of his shows, thinking like, what just happened? So it's really important that we do kind of learn the skills and the tools to make it be as effective as possible. So I just want to quickly go over some of the statistics from HubSpot. HubSpot is an international service that provide spaces where people can work from. They do networking events. So it's quite interesting to get their kind of stats of internationally how, networking can be effective. So 85% of jobs are filled through networking. 72% of people say that their impressions are impacted by how someone appears and their handshake. So obviously that was pre-COVID-19. 1 in 4 people don't network at all. 41% of networkers want to network more frequently, but don't have enough time. So they can see the benefit of it, but they just don't have enough time. Only 11% of LinkedIn users have more than 100 people on their network. So we can see that there's a huge amount of people that could benefit more from networking. And whether it's because they don't like it or they don't have the time, you can see the effect that it has had on the amount of people that they can connect with on LinkedIn. And then according to one survey, around 9 in 10 people say small meetings are their favorite communication method. And so it doesn't have to be a big, massive networking event. It can even be a small one that can still be effective if you have the right people in the place. So just some few stats. So 85% of people say they build stronger, more meaningful business relationships during in-person business meetings and conferences. So when they are meeting with people, when they're engaging with people, there's an 85% stronger chance that they can make more meaningful business relationships. 95% of people say face-to-face meetings are essential for long-term business relationships. I mean, obviously during this time of COVID-19, that will be more remote, but it's about that continuous engagement. And networking has proven to be a very effective way to increase word of mouth advertising. And that's really important. And as you'll see as we go along, that what you do and the impact you leave with people can be very powerful, because if you're in their mind and in their heart, then they will talk about you to other people when opportunities come up. So what mistakes have you made previously when networking or talking with others and trying to build connections? So just type anything for you that you feel has um, hindered you previously. What are some of the kind of mistakes you made and you kind of thought, oh, I won't do that again? Anything? No? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what some of those, what I call the Venus flytrap of networking is. So some of those things that are common mistakes that people make and things that, can be avoided. So some of these include delaying and missing opportunities. So chances where you get to speak to people, you kind of delay it and then you miss that opportunity because they're gone or someone else is speaking to them and you kind of miss the moment. Being unprepared. So just turning up and, you've not prepared, you've not set things in order, you're not in the right frame of mind. Forgetting business cards or even your pens and the things that you need so that you can be able to get, jot down key information. Monopolizing someone's time. This can be another one. So in terms of talking and talking and talking for too long, and then you just, take that person's time and then they're not really listening to what you're saying because they want to move on. to the next person. Waiting until you want something. So a lot of people wait until they want something before they network. And that's not how any relationships works, because networking is about relationships. You know, you don't go up to someone the only time you want something and ask them for it. You build connections first. You build the relationship up first. So then when you do ask that person for something, they're okay with you asking. Not knowing what you want. So sometimes people know they want to do something, but they don't know exactly what it is they want. Whenever you're going to an event or you're talking to someone, it's about being clear on what you want. Forcing business cards or your number on people. So, you know, people often think, oh, if I give them the card, at least they might call me. But if you've not engaged with them, if you've not left a positive feeling with them, then as soon as they get out, they're going to throw that card away. Not listening to what is being said. And that can be because of nervousness. That can be because, you know, people are so focused on what they want to get out. So it's really important that we are listening to what is being said so that we can respond appropriately and so that the person can feel that they're engaged in a productive conversation. Dressing inappropriately for the event. So it's really important to be aware of what type of event you're going to, and so you dress accordingly. Working the room too quickly is another one. So sometimes people think I've got to get around to everyone. And it's not that you need to engage with everyone in the room. You just need to engage with the right people in the room. And so it's like, it's not about rushing through quickly, but it's about talking to people. And as you find that this is someone that either you want to build a connection with, or someone that you could work with, or if you want it to be a customer, you know, those are the ones you might invest a bit more time in. Another big one is speaking too quickly or too quietly. So when you speak too quickly and the person can't really understand you, then they kind of shut down. But especially if you're speaking too quietly and they can't hear you, then they're not really going to be engaged. So it's really important that, you know, the pitch and the pace in terms of how you're speaking is important to get engagement. And another one, a big mistake that people often make, is forgetting to record key information. So when you speak to someone, if they provide you with some key information, it's very important to write it down so that the next time when you engage with them, you can bring up those points. It will help the person to see that you were listening and that you was engaged. And so it is all about building a firm foundation. And so when I think of firm foundations, I always think of a tree. And you know, this is a Douglas fir tree, one of Britain's tallest trees. And it's really important that we understand the concept of why a tree is able to grow so tall. This one is 217 foot and still be standing. And the reason for that is because before the tree grows up, it goes down deep into the ground and it lays its roots deep into the ground so that as it grows and develops, it's still able to stand the test of time through the storms and the winds and everything else that comes up against it. And so we have to have that same kind of understanding and firm foundation when we're thinking about networking. And so what we have to think about and decide and understand is, what is the problem that you are trying to solve? When you are talking to someone and connecting with them and you're trying to build up connections, what is the problem that you are trying to solve? What is the point? Why is there value in them engaging with you? And you have to be really clear on what you can solve, because people want someone to solve something. That's why people invest their money in them. And how you do that is that it's like a plot. So you sell their issue as being the villain, and you are the hero in that story. And one of the interesting things is when you think about films, in the first 3 minutes, sorry, of any film, they will always show you the villain and the hero, because what they want to do is get you engaged with the plot so that you want to find out what's going to happen in the end. And that's the same kind of thing what happens with networking. as you sell the plot of the villain and you being able to be the hero to help them, they are more engaged and wanting to know how this can end up in their favor, how this can help them, how they can have a good, positive end to the story. So it's also important to highlight the cost and the impact. So make it urgent. So if they don't engage in this, how will their situation become worse? If there's a problem within their service, within their team, within their organization, how worse can it get if they don't act? Why is it that it's a priority for them to engage in that? And that's what you want to highlight. And then finally, you want to get a what next? So you want to get a commitment. So it could be a meeting, a time when you're going to call them. It might be a business card, but you want to end up with something from them so you can continue the conversation. Because it's not about you're going to have this one conversation and then they're going to be buying your product. It is about building rapport. But what you want to do is by the end of that initial conversation, that you're able to get something, some kind of commitment to show that they want to take this to the next step. So I always tell people failing to plan means planning to fail. And so it's very important that you prepare beforehand of what you're going to do and how you're going to be at the event. So again, it is about dressing appropriately for the event, making sure that you're prepared and you've got your things in place and what you want to wear. But also, why are you going to each networking event? What is your mental focus? What is your intention? How many people do you want to talk to? How many business cards do you want to get? How many people is it that you're interested in partnering up with and doing something together? So it's important that you have a goal in mind so that you can aim to do something and aim to reach something when you're at your networking events. What is your ideal outcome? So what is it that you'd really like to happen? What's your goals? What's your objectives? Have a target of people to speak to at the event. So whether it's in person or whether it's a digital one, have an idea of who it is you want to speak to, who it is that you want to, share your information with. If you are going to a physical location, then plan your journey well. Think about your directions, think about parking, if you're driving, like cover all bases. Pack your business cards and your stationery. So plan for all scenarios. Your battery on your phone may run out, so have a pen and paper just in case, and have one or two pens in case the pen runs out of ink. You maybe have one of those bad days. Be clear about your prices and be upfront. So, whatever your price is, then be clear about it. If you have a value and you have a standard to what you do, then if you're as good as you say you are and you're able to demonstrate that and lay that firm foundation, then people will be willing to pay the money for your services. Always arrive early. Entering a room full of strangers can be daunting. Or joining a online event once it's already started can kind of leave you like a step behind. Think about questions that you might be asked and questions that you want to ask others as well. So, think about the questions. What kind of questions are people going to come up to you with and ask you about? What's your brand? What makes you interested? They might ask you these questions. So it's good to kind of prepare beforehand and have in mind how you might answer these questions. And also questions that you want to ask. Be curious. Find that information about them. How do you get to find out what their villain is? You need to ask key questions to get you to the place where you can have that understanding and that information. And then it's very important that you have your elevator pitch. What is that pitch that you have? So if you only had 30 seconds to engage with someone and to let them know who you are and what you're about, what would that be? And it's important that you practice that so that when you come to talking to someone about it, it's clear in your mind. So, your USP, your unique selling point is what will make you stand out to others. What are the benefits that other people can have of engaging in your product and your services? That's what your elevator pitch should be talking about and promoting. And another thing that's really important is to think about when you have finished talking or engaging with someone, what three things do you want people to think about you when they finish talking to you? What is it? What's important for you that is the message that you leave with them? Is it that you are focused? Is it that you're motivational? Is it that you're caring? Like, what is it that you want people to leave the conversation with you feeling about? And then include that. Think about that in terms of when you're developing your elevator pitch. And so one of the things that in terms of with networking is that you have to set smart goals with whatever it is that you're planning to do, planning to achieve. It has to be specific. It has to be measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And so it's about setting small goals, smart goals, and achieving them rather than trying to say, I'm going to go to this network event, I'm going to speak to 35 people. Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. But if you said that I'm planning to speak to 10 people and possibly make connections with 5 of those. So it's really important about how you set your objectives and your goals in terms of that networking event. And there is also the area in terms of being over passionate. So sometimes people are so motivated and so driven and really want to make an impact and really want to go for it that they can seem to others to be over passionate. I know some people may think, that's weird to be over passionate, but it's always important to be aware of how you may be perceived by someone else. And so treat networking like a relationship. You don't ask someone to marry you on the first date. Well, the majority of people don't anyway. So it's like, think about your networking relationships like any other relationship. You want to build it up, you want to meet them a couple times and call and then find out more information about them, see how you connect in different ways, see how what you have in common, and it's about building that relationship. Because when we just jump in like that, we can often be seen like, a bloodsucker. So like a leech or a vampire just wanting to take, 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 take. And no one's going to want to engage and invest money or work with someone who they just feel was a taker. So it's really important that we have a balance and that we look at it as a relationship rather than something that we can get from them. So while at the event, what do you think would be some of the useful tools to use or can be done when at the networking event? Just list one or two of things that you think may be important to do at a networking event or when you're engaging with someone. Okay. So here is some of the things that are really useful to have in mind when you are at the event. So mobile phones on silent. Yeah, it's really important. It can be a small thing that's often missed, but in the midst of flow, then your phone starts going off. It can just really mess up and change the dynamic and cause you to lose your trail of thought. Don't just be busy, be productive. So, be thoughtful about networking. Is, sometimes people can just think, oh yeah, I spoke to so much different people and I went around the whole room, but what did you get out of that? Who is anyone that you want to make any connections with from those conversations? So it's not just about being busy, it's about being productive. Sometimes it's better to just only have spoken to 3 people, but it's the right people, than speaking to 20 and didn't really get anything from those 20. So be different from everyone else by being you. A lot of the times people try to be someone else, or they think that there's this perfect formula that you have to do, but you're unique. And by being you, that makes you stand out. And by knowing your product and your brand, that's what makes you stand out. So active listening is key as it builds connections. Active listening helps you to really understand what that individual's talking about. It helps you to be able to pick through what they're saying, to understand even the things that they're not saying, and be able to ask the right questions that helps them to see that you're someone different. Ensure that you speak up. If people can't hear you, they can't connect with you. And sometimes people don't bother to say, I can't hear you. They'll just nod their head and then they'll just walk on when the conversation's finished, especially if you're in a busy room and there's lots of people talking. Take your time when speaking, because that helps you to feel to seem more confident. If you're talking really fast like this and everyone can have it, it doesn't breed confidence. So it's about taking pauses and taking your time when you're speaking. So don't wait, delay to start a conversation. Great opportunities are often missed by this. And always think about your brand in every conversation you have, and not just if you're at a networking event or you're joining a networking event online, but think about it wherever you are, because you may just be talking to someone and you connect with them, and then they go and meet someone else, and they say, "Do you know what? I met this person. They'll be really good. They could help you out in this." So always think about your brand in every conversation you have. You never know who knows who. So manage time effectively when networking. So be assertive in ending dead conversations. So there's sometimes you may be networking and there's someone who's just going on and going on and going on, and you can already realize that they're not necessarily the kind of person that you need to develop your networking relationship with. Then you need to be able to end that conversation and kind of gently say, okay, thanks for your time. I think it'd be good if we kind of discuss and speak with more people in the meeting, in the session. Don't waffle, go off track, or start over talking. Less is more when networking. Yeah, so it's better you say a few words, which makes the person want to ask you questions to find out more, rather than you over talk and then they just zone out. And it's really important to notice and feel the energy of the person you're talking to, because body language doesn't lie. And we're going to look at body language a bit more later on, but you can really tell by someone's body language if they're engaged, if it's something, if it's someone that really wants to hear more about what you're saying. So pay attention to body language and also your own. And so it's really important, because a lot of the time people struggle or are anxious or worried about what might go wrong, what people may be thinking. And, outside of your circle, you have things that are outside of your control. And you can continue to worry about these things and allow them to affect you, but you have no control over these things. But the things that you can control is your attitude, is your effort, is your behavior, and your actions. And the key thing about this is that you can do and influence those things outside of your control by the things what you do. And so it's really important to just focus on you and what you can do and what's in your power, and allow that to expand and minimize the things that are outside of your control. And it's key that we all understand that where the mind goes, the energy flows. If you're focusing on everyone else and worrying about what they may think, then you're not going to be able to engage properly in those networking conversations. But if you're focusing on you, which is only you, and you are unique, and you're focusing on your brand that you know very well, then you are able to demonstrate that, and show others why they should invest in what you're offering. So, in terms of body language, which is often referred to as everyone's second language. And so, body language is all the non-verbal communication we make, both conscious and unconscious. A huge part of our judgments of other people and their judgments of us are visual. And so, what percentage do you think applies to each area below in regards to the level of importance when we communicate with other people? So we've got the words, which are the actual words, the sentences, and the language used. We've got the verbal, which is the pace, the pitch, the tone, and the volume. And then we have the non-verbal, which is the body language, the reactions, the posture, and the eye contact. So put your answer in the chat if you think it's A, B, or C. So I'll give you a few seconds to think about it and just write your answer in the chat so I can see which one you choose. Okay, so let's look and see. It was actually A. Yeah, so what's interesting about this is that only 10% of communication is the actual words that you use. 90% has nothing to do with the actual words you use when you're communicating with someone. And that's really important to be aware of. But when we break it down, the words you use are kind of like the raw content. That's the just the general basic message you're getting across of what it is you do, or what it is, you know, your product is and your brand is, and what it is you like, or what is your interests are. So that's like just the raw content of the conversation. The verbal now is your emotional engagement. So what I mean by that is, if I was really upset about something, my pitch would change, the tone will change, the volume will change, and the pace will change in terms of how I'm talking. That would make people know that there is an emotional engagement here. That is not just how I normally speak, but there is a anger, or there is frustration, or something else attached to it. So in terms of the verbal, the 35% is about your emotional engagement. And so we can pick up people's emotional engagement even when networking. Are they really happy to be talking with you? Are they excited about what you're saying? But 55% is about body language. And that is the evidence of commitment. Yeah, so that's the body language, the reactions, the posture, the eye contact. Are people engaged? And so it's really important that when you're talking with someone, to notice the body language. Notice how they're presenting themselves. Notice how they, you know, are they focused and engaged with you? You know, what's their posture like? Is it open or is it closed? You know, so it's really important to be able to pick up on those cues and to be mindful of your own as well, because they will also be looking at your body language. But so it's really important that we are clear and realize that the different areas of importance. So there is the words you're saying, which are important still, but that's only 10% of the conversation. And then you've got the verbal, which is 35%, and the non-verbal, which is 55%. And so there's also areas that we need to be mindful of in terms of when we are networking with people. So eye contact is really important. You know, so before you start to talk, it's important to make eye contact and have a little smile. You know, smile always goes a long way. And so when you are connecting with people, people have different experiences or have different viewpoints in terms of eye contact. I mean, I would never say just always be looking at someone in their eyes, because that can be a bit freaky, scary. But it's important that you know, you do, especially when you're making key points or at certain points, or if they start to talk, to make eye contact to show that you're engaged and to show that you are listening. Handshake, obviously, with COVID-19, that's a no-no at the moment. But often that was a firm way of reassuring people and making that official connection. Good posture is very important. It's very important, especially when doing networking via online. Because if you're slouched and you look sluggish, it doesn't send a good message for that person who's basing that conversation on what they see. People's personal space, again, this is more focused to when you're in person, and it's to make sure that you're just not in someone's face. You can stand a bit further back and allow them to invite you to come forward, or for them to come closer so that they can hear what you're saying. And then hand gestures are very important. So be mindful of how you're talking, that your hand is not in people's faces and stuff like that. So it's really important to be mindful of hand gestures when you're talking to others. And so when we look at about building your network, it's important to recognize this won't happen overnight. This is not going to be you go to one networking event and you just met everyone who you need to know for the rest of your life. It will be something that you will do. Some networking events you may go to, and there is no one that you meet that necessarily you want to engage with or take anything further with. Sometimes you might go to one and there's 10 people. So it's important to remember that it's something that builds up over time. Just like any of your other relationships, your friends, they build up over time. So don't only go into networking events when you need something, and that's really important. Go to them throughout. Go to them even when you don't need something. Make connections with people. Just meet new people, socialize, because in the time when you do need someone or you do need something, or even if you know someone else that needs something, you may know someone that you can connect them to. So that's how this business works. It's about building connections, being a resource for other people and being able to help others. It's not just about get, me. Try to exchange skills, as this creates a win-win for everyone. So it's really important that it's not just about you and what you can get out of this. So see how you can help and benefit other people. It goes a long way. When people can see that you're out to support and help other people as well, they'll be out to support and help you when opportunities come up. Create a networking tree of all your contacts, past and present. So go back over your database, go back over people who you've met, people who you worked with previously, maybe people you went to college or uni with, and just think about who are those people, what kind of resources do they have, and are they connected to other people that could be a help and support for you? So it's really important to kind of think about this in a holistic way and look at the people that you have in your life, family, friends, your partner, and different people that you can connect with through those individuals as well. Make contact with old contacts, especially ace connectors, those people that just know a lot of people, those people that always know someone that can help out in a particular situation. Those are key people for you to connect with, because those are the kind of ones that can sell your product, that can raise your profile. Remember we spoke about word of mouth advertisement? They're great for that. And branch out as well. So join networking groups on Facebook, use Eventbrite to search for networking events, reach out to people on LinkedIn. There's so many different avenues now that you can use to help develop your network. And with follow-up, so whenever you're engaging with someone or you meet someone, write down key information about those people that you have connected with, and then highlight it the next time that you connect with them. So if you're talking to someone and they spoke to you a bit about their passion for art, maybe, and you go, it's interesting about you said about your passion for art. Is there anything that you're planning to go to, in the next couple of weeks? So it's about they can realize that there's something different about you, that you're paying attention. Always add to this network. So have a spreadsheet of contacts. So whenever I go to networking events and I get business cards or I speak to people, I always add them to a spreadsheet. And so you've got this database that you can continuously build from. And so when, someone comes up or you meet someone who needs something, you can say to them, I know someone that may be able to help you with this, and you can pass on that information. And make every contact count. So you want to be remembered by others for the right reasons wherever you go. So it's really important that that you have your elevator pitch, that you're aware of your brand, and that whenever you're talking with people, that you're able to, share and drop some gems or some tools or some nuggets about yourself, and so that people can remember you and that you're in people's mind. So that when something else comes up, you're the first person that they think about. And use social media. If you're on social media, take pictures, pardon me, or video events, because this can help you to build your brand, raise awareness, and shape interest in you. So it's really important that you get yourself out there. So even if it's just on things like WhatsApp, and you share it with people that you're connected with when you've done something or a new thing that you're doing, it's really important to get yourself out there, because no matter how great you are, if people don't know about you, they're not going to come to you, they're not going to seek your services. So I think it's also important that we get to some raw home truths about networking. So being in the right place at the right time isn't enough. There's more to it than that. And one of the things that we have to recognize and understand is that people often are polite and they won't tell you if they're not interested. So you could be having this conversation and someone's going, yeah, 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 yeah. But if they're not interested, they're not going to say, well, that's not really what I'm about. So, thank you for your time. They don't do that. And so it's really important that we understand that when networking, that sometimes people will just nod their head and say whatever because they don't feel confident in ending that conversation if they don't feel you're the right person for them. People want to know what you can do for them. And it's really important that you be aware of that. When people go to networking events, for the majority of people, for a lot of people, it's about what you can do for them. And so you have to have something that makes you stand out, that makes them say, "Oh, that I could use that. That's quite useful." And again, it goes back to the villain, identifying their issue as the villain and you being the hero that can help save the day. And so your answers need to be benefits based rather than features focused. And so many people will go on and they'll talk about all the different things that they can do, their products and how effective they are and what they've done and how they've helped Tom, Dick and Harry and all these different individuals. But people want to hear, what is the benefit? What is this going to do for me? So for example, if I was to say, edifying answers unlocks insight by using transformational workshops to help people connect, work more productively, and engage with their individuals in their organization. So it's benefits based. So if someone has been struggling with being able to build relationships within the organization, or if there's been divisions, that would already think, oh, okay, tell me a bit more. And then I can go into some of my workshops in particular looking at the areas that they're facing. So it's really important to be benefits based rather than features focused when you're talking to individuals. So answers need to be short to grab people's attention. Unfortunately, because we are in the Twitter age and this digital age where everyone wants everything quick, they want the answer within 10, 15 seconds. Like they don't want to wait 2 minutes to get that answer. And so you have to be quick off the mark. You have to engage with people because people's attention span is much shorter now. And we have to be aware of the head and the heart in a conflict. So the head is where all the inner chatter is and all the stuff is going on, but the heart is where the authentic self is. And that's with you and also with others. So it's important to be aware of that. what's going on for you and what might be going on for others. So keep it short, keep it effective, keep it concise, and so that you will capture their heart, and so that they don't have to think in their head, "Oh, I need to meet all these other people. This is taking too long." And I think this is really important in terms of how it is for a lot of people. They're in their own universe. And this is a universe meaning that it is used to indicate that a person has knowledge only of himself or herself. Their universe consists only of them. And so when some people go to networking events, it's all about what you're going to do for me, what you're going to do for me, what you're going to do for me. And so it's important that you're able to, you know, bring across your message in a way that they think, this is really great. I need to know more about this. And so it's about making it be benefits based. And so we come on to the art of communication. So the ability to present, and convey information in a way that inspires others. And so the question is, why you? Why should anyone engage with you? Why should someone invest in you? What is it about you that is going to make a difference? And it's important that, within what you're saying, you're able to answer that question. And how you do that is by learning to tell your story. And this may not necessarily happen in the first meeting. It might be in the follow-up meeting once you've got their number or you've arranged for another meeting. But you need to be able to tell your story. And this could involve things like taking them through your journey, helping people to realize where you've come from, what you've gone through, how you've learned through this process, how you've developed your brand over time. How have you gotten to this point? Let them see a begin, a middle, and an end in terms of you and what you stand for. Why is your project important to you? You see, because if people can understand your why and why something is important to you, they can understand how that would connect with them and their why and what's important to them. What would you want to know before investing your hard-earned money? And it's important that we look at things that way, because when you're asking for someone to invest in something that you do and what your brand is, then you got to think of it from the point of view of, if you was going to be investing however much money your product is in someone else, wouldn't you want to know a bit more about them? Wouldn't you want to know, you know, what they stand for, what they're really about, before you're going to invest your money? And also, what is unique about you? Someone shouldn't need to ask you that question by the end of when you finish talking to them. You should be demonstrating it. You should be speaking it. You should be living it. You should be, through your passion, showing it. And remember, people are investing in you as well as your product. People don't just buy the product, they're investing in you as well as your product. They buy your product because they like what you stand for, or they like you. So, we're going to talk a bit about emotional intelligence now, because I think this is really important when we come to doing networking and to make it be effective. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, also to handle interpersonal relationships sensibly and empathically. So it's really important that we are able to manage what's going on for us, how we're thinking, and how we're feeling in the midst of that networking conversation. And so we can look at it two ways. So if your emotion is that you're anxious, and so you're worried and you're apprehensive and you feel uneasy, what's your thoughts going to be like? No one won't connect with me. It's not going to be good. I'm not going to be good at connecting. I'm not good at networking anyway. So you tell yourself all these kind of thoughts that only amplifies your anxiety. And so your behavior will be withdrawn or isolated or disengaged or closed body language or delaying, missing opportunities. The short-term result of that is that this is a waste of time. I'm not making any connections. I'm glad that was over. and it just ends up being missed opportunities. And that will then reinforce the long-term result of stop attending networking events, you know, demotivated and no sales. And so it's really important about being aware of your thoughts and your emotions and being able to manage them effectively. So let's look at it from the other point of view. So imagine now the individual is excited and engaged and focused. So they're enthusiastic when they're talking to people. They're thrilled. They're delighted. People can feel their energy, and it's encouraging. It makes them want to talk more to that individual. Their thoughts will be, I'm looking forward to this. I'm curious about what I can do today. Look, they're in it to win it. I've got goals. I'm planning to connect with 5 people. I want to get 3 business cards. And out of those 3, I want to make at least 1 sale. And so the behavior behind that is confident, it's bold, it's welcoming, it's engaging, it's present, the person's smiling, and they're approachable. People want to come to them. There's something about them that people think, let me have a conversation with this individual. The short-term benefits of this is that they're making useful connections, useful contacts. They enjoy it. It reinforces them to want to do that more and more. They're building and developing their skills of engaging with other people. And so the long-term effect is more connections, sales, and, really developing their craft in terms of networking. And so it's really important that we learn how to retrain our brains. If we're focused on the worry and the anxiety and what might go wrong, then that's what we're giving all our energy over to. And so it's important that we change change the narrative in our minds, change the stories that we tell ourselves so that we can have better experiences. And so when we're thinking about neuroplasticity, it tells us that we have the ability to make those changes in our mind. So it talks about pathways. So it says neural pathways connect relatively distant areas of the brain or nervous system. Each pathway is associated with a particular action or behavior. So every time we think, feel, or do something, we strengthen this pathway. Habits are well-traveled pathways. Our brain finds these things easy to do. So when we think about, if we're constantly thinking about, it's not going to go well, it's going to be difficult, I'm going to look silly when I talk to people, you're strengthening that pathway. Because one of the things about our brains, it doesn't make any distinction. Whatever you continuously thinking about and doing, it will strengthen that. If you're doing it in a negative way, it's going to focus on the negative. If you're doing it in a positive way, it's going to focus on the positive. But neuroplasticity also tells us that we have the ability to reshape our thinking. So even if you have been someone that's previously only been focused on the negative, you have the power to reshape it through neuroplasticity. So new thoughts and skills can carve out new pathways. Repetition and practice strengthen those pathways, forming new habits. And old pathways get used less and they weaken. So with repeated and directed attention towards a desired change, we all have the ability to rewire and reshape our brains. So even if you have been someone who hadn't been operating with emotional intelligence, I'm here to tell you that you can make that change, and through practice and focus, you can become that person that you want to be. And so I want to touch a bit around personality types here. And so we have 4 different types of personality types here. So you've got the first, which is that kind of individual that is direct, results orientated. They can be firm, strong-willed, and sometimes seem forceful to others. And that kind of individual is the kind of one that when they go to a networking event, they'll just go and talk to people. They're not there to waste time. They know what their goals and their purpose are. And they're kind of direct. They're in there. They'll start those conversations. They know what they want to get, and they're focused on doing it. Then we have the second type. which is kind of outgoing. They're more enthusiastic and optimistic, high-spirited and lively. These are the kind of ones that will be able to work the room quite smoothly. They're good at connecting with other people. They like, being in conversations with other people, and it's like natural for them to kind of engage. They've kind of got that kind of bubbly character. Then we have the even-tempered, accommodating, patient, humble, and tactful. This is the kind of individual that will be more laid back. So they may still engage with people, but they're the kind of person who would find it more difficult to tell someone, okay, thank you for your time and move on. They would be accommodating. They would be allowing that person to continuously talk. And maybe as a result, you may miss out on good opportunities. And then we have the fourth, which is kind of the analytical, the reserved, the precise, private, and systematic one. So this is the kind of one that's will find it probably more difficult when they're engaging with other people. They find it hard to kind of make those connections because it doesn't come natural to them. They have to work on networking. And so these top two are more outgoing and engaging. These two are more focused on relationships. These two are more reserved and laid back. And these two are more task orientated. And so it's really important to have an idea of which one makes up you. And this is a model which is known as the DISC model, and it looks at different types of personalities and behaviors that we kind of operate in, and it kind of helps people to understand the importance of the different types of behaviors that we all are. So with all four of these, we can have a combination of all four of these traits, but there may be one particular area that is a priority or a default position for us in terms of how we engage. And so when it comes to networking, it's important to understand which one you are and how you do operate and what's your natural tendency to operate. Because if you're dealing with someone who is more even-tempered and accommodating, then you may have to tone it down a bit if you're more direct. And so it's really important about learning to engage with people based on what their type of character is. So this is something that I will share some information, a bit more information about, because if people are interested in finding out more about the DISC model, that is something that people can engage with. And it's something people can do as a one-to-one, or in a team, or as a whole organization. So that's something that I will share more information about in the email following on from this. And with this, what's really powerful about this tool is that you would do a pre-questionnaire, and from that questionnaire, it would gather that information and create a 20-page report specific for you, based on what your DISC style is, what your strengths are, what your areas of development are, but also how you would work with other individuals who are of a different type of style from what you are. So it's a really great resource that many services have benefited from. So another way of kind of talking about the DISC is thinking about it as 4 different keys. So each key has a unique purpose and provides a service that no other tool can deliver. So you've got your car, the key for your house, the key for your storage, so if you had some stuff stored in storage, and then the key for your shop, your business, whatever it may be. Now, if you try and use your car key to try and get into your business, no matter how much you try and twist it and turn it and try and make it work, it won't work. And it's the same way as if you're trying to be a direct with someone who is more reserved and is not used to that, in terms of a networking and in terms of life in general, it's not going to end well. So the DISC helps us to be empowered to use the right keys for the right situation so we can get the best outcome. So what I would like to do now is to focus on the 10 golden nuggets. So these are fundamental principles to remember about networking. So the first one is an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And what that means is that, invest in those things that's going to help you to be knowledgeable, that's going to help you to be aware and understand the things that you need to do, the things that you need to know so that you can create the best brand and be the best example and stand out from the crowd when you are networking with others. So it's always important to invest in yourself, whether it's things around your brand, whether it's things around developing your knowledge, whether it's even paying for, to go to certain networking events. It's really important that you do invest. The second thing is to be prepared to sell at any given moment. You may meet someone at the train station that may be a key person that you want to get hold of, and you'll never meet them again. It's important to be able to sell at any given moment. So practice your sales pitch. Practice how you would have those conversations. If you only got 30 seconds to talk to someone, you need to make that moment count. Third thing is that experience will make you successful. No one just said, right, I want to start doing this and was great at it straight away. So even if you find it difficult networking, experience will make you successful. And there's often a view amongst people that failure is this bad thing. Failure is important to help us to learn and develop and realize what we shouldn't do. And it's interesting that, if we think about our childhood and we think about things in terms of as we've gone through life, we fail at almost everything. We failed before we learned to walk. We failed before we learned to ride our bike. We failed before we learned to pass our tests at school. We failed in relationships. There's so many things that we fail in. And it's okay, because that's how we grow and we learn and develop. Just fail forwards and fail upwards. And each time you lose the game, don't lose the lesson. And you learn from those experiences, and that's how you become successful. That's how people become successful. They've learned from the mistakes that they've made. And so in terms of networking, don't think of it as I'm terrible, I can't do this. Think about it, okay, I've learned from that. I won't do that next time. Number 4 is don't be afraid to ask people for help. No man is an island. You can't do it by yourself. Ask people for help. Ask people for ideas. Ask people for how do they find it, what do they do to help them to overcome their fears of networking. Ask people for help. Ask for someone to be your mentor. Ask for someone to support you and give you guidance in terms of something you're not sure about. It's really important. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to help you. So do ask. The worst thing they could say is no. And you'll still be in the same position you were before. But if they say yes, then you can be going forwards. If something is not working, then change it. Remember that there is no golden rule that works for everyone. So if you're using a tool, if you're using a technique and that doesn't work, it's not seeming to work for that individual, then change it. Do something different. Your elevator pitch not only sells to that individual, but to everyone they know. So work on it. Make it razor sharp. Make it be, inspirational and influential. Number 7, make sure that you are speaking in language that the individual can understand. So avoid jargon, avoid words that they may not understand or that they may misinterpret. Number 8 is remember people buy into people. So describe yourself concisely and impressively. If people like you, they're more likely to buy from you. If people don't like you, they're less likely to buy from you, even if they like your product. Number 9, always keep a cool head and a focused mind. Remember, you're there to engage and to build relationships. Your life doesn't depend on this. If you get it wrong, they're not going to shoot you. So it's, just be cool and calm and recognize they're just another individual like you. And number 10, it's not just who you know, it's not just what you know, but it's who you know. And that's the key thing. It's about knowing the right people. And so it's really important that you do sell your product and let that be resonating in the hearts and the minds of the people who you speak to, because they may just know that right person that needs your product and will, want to buy your services. So it's really important to recognize it's important to get out there to as many people as possible. And so, you know, these points have had the official approval by the networking twins, and they've given it the thumbs up. So, you know, apply these things to your day-to-day networking, and I guarantee you'll see the results. So I want to give you a final tip for today, which is the acronym BUS, and it stands for, when you're networking, make sure you breathe, you know, and, you know, when people are anxious, when people are stressed, you know, they stop breathing in this short breaths, and it's not allowing enough air to get to you, to help you to breathe, to focus, to function right. So make sure you're breathing, take deep breaths. And then the next part is upbeat. So think about something that's upbeat. Think about something that you like doing. Whenever you're focused on positive things, your body will respond differently. You'll feel more relaxed. So think about something upbeat and something that you enjoy. It will get you into the right frame of mind and the right zone. And then thirdly, smile. Your smile is so important. They say that that's the best and most important part of your uniform that you put on each day. A smile can make a big difference and how someone engages with you and if they choose to approach you. So keep smiling. So in terms of the development model, which is something that looks at, which is also known, sorry, as the 70-20-10 model. And it looks at the different types of learning that people go through and experience. So we got the social, we got on the job, and we got the formal. So 10% of learning is formal learning. So that's education, courses, qualifications, you know, conferences, webinars, those things where you know, you're getting that formal teaching and learning. 20% is social learning. So that's things like coaching, mentoring, shadowing, observing, getting advice around things, which is also important. So that's when I said about asking for help. But 70% is on the job, meaning trial and error, experience, practice, taking on responsibilities, you know, seeking opportunities, attending networking events. That is where you're going to get the bulk of your learning from and your development from. So the tools and the tips that's been explained today is 10%, but you have to go on to apply those. You have to practice them, use them when you're engaging with others, use them when you're at networking events so that you can sharpen and develop and grow. And so it's really important that we do understand that the majority of that will be on the job. And in this case, when you are networking. So just some final bits before we go on to looking at and doing some, you know, networking practicing, skills practice, sorry. So just about my website, there is loads of information on there, different videos. Some of my webinars are also on there. So please do like and subscribe to the channel and engage, you know, look at some of the videos. I'm sure you'll find them useful. Leave a comment, you know, and also share. And so I think, you know, it's really important that we are aware, as the quote says there, always think about your brand when talking and networking with others, because that is what, at the end of the day, people remember and people will talk about. So it's important to have that in the back of your mind when you are talking with other people. So this is just about my contact details. So if anyone does want to get in contact with me, you know, I'm on all social media, and, you know, my website details are there. So you can engage with me if you want to find out any more information, or if you would like me to come to deliver a particular webinar in your service or organization. So do a quick poll just to find out how you felt today's webinar was. So I'll give you a second to just fill it out. Excellent. So I'm glad to see that people found it useful. Excellent. So we are about to, so just before we go on to practice some networking skills, just to check, is there any questions? And at this point,
Yeah, hi. For me, this is my first time coming to a network. Finding out about networking.
yeah,
It's so for me, networking it's about socializing and connecting with people.